Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the book Masters of Scale and some, well, pretty counterintuitive truths. These are the kinds of lessons that basically suggest the rulebook you thought you knew for building a great company, yeah, it might be totally wrong.
So let's start with a basic question. How are great companies really built? Most of us probably have this image in our heads. This single, brilliant aha moment, right? A flash of lightning. But what if the real story, the one that the most successful founders actually tell, is way more surprising than that?
And that's pretty much the core argument Reid Hoffman and his co-authors make in Masters of Scale. They discovered that so many of the common beliefs we have about entrepreneurship, they're just myths. The path to growing a huge company, it's not a straight line at all. It's messy. It's full of all these detours that, honestly, most of us would probably try to avoid.
So today, we're going to unpack 4 of these really surprising truths. And listen, these aren't just abstract theories from a book. No way. These are battle-tested lessons straight from founders who took their wild ideas and turned them into global icons.
All right, let's jump right into the first one, because it's a biggie. Here it is. Some of the absolute best, most scalable ideas are the ones that, at first, everyone tells you are just bad.
Okay, look at this number, 148. What is that? Well, that's how many times Catherine Minshew, the founder of the career site The Muse, heard the word no from investors. Think about that. 148 straight-up rejections.
But here's the kicker. Catherine's perspective is what changed everything. For her, those no's weren't stop signs. Not at all. They were a roadmap. Every single rejection was just another piece of data that helped her sharpen her pitch, refine the idea for the Muse, which, by the way, now serves almost 100 million people.
And that really sums up the book's whole take on rejection. It's not just some obstacle you have to grit your teeth and get through. It's raw data. It's literally your chance to figure out what other people are missing and, just as important, to spot the holes in your own logic.
In fact, LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman, he takes this idea to another level. He actually says he gets worried when all his investment partners agree on a new idea. Worried. Why? Because if everyone agrees, it's probably too obvious. What he's really looking for is that polarized reaction. Some people thinking you're nuts, while others totally get the vision. That's where the game-changing ideas are hiding. Okay, so you've got your bad idea that you believe in. What's the next step? Well, you might think it's time to go big or go home, right? Nope. The second counterintuitive truth is all about the power of thinking small. And I mean really small. It's about doing things that you know for a fact will never, ever scale.
And this is the exact advice the legendary Paul Graham from Y Combinator gave to a struggling, little-known company called Airbnb. He basically told them, stop staring at spreadsheets in Silicon Valley. Get on a plane to New York and go meet your first users in person. And Brian Chesky, Airbnb's founder, took that to heart. As he put it, Steve Jobs didn't come sleep on your couch when you bought an iPhone, but he did. He literally stayed with his first users, he took professional photos of their places himself, he obsessed over every tiny detail. Now obviously that's completely unscalable, but it gave them the one thing they desperately needed, a deep, first-hand understanding of what would make people absolutely fall in love with their product.
This whole hands-on approach led to this legendary thought experiment they did at Airbnb called the 11-star experience. I love this. So a 5-star experience is fine, it works. But they started asking, what would a 6-star experience be, or a 7-star one, where the host knows you love surfing and has lessons booked for you? And then they pushed it to this crazy, absurd 11-star level. Of course, you can't actually do that for everyone, but the whole point of the exercise was to discover those little magical details that truly blow customers away. Okay, but what happens when even after all that handcrafted care, your idea still isn't working? The plan is just failing. Well, that's when you need to pull out the third essential skill. I'm talking about the life-saving art of the pivot.
And let's be really clear about what a pivot is. It's not just giving up or admitting you failed. Not at all. Think of it more like a strategic retreat. It's this incredibly courageous decision to say, you know what, this plan isn't working, and then ditching it to find a new way to get to your original vision.
Let's look at a classic example.
Back in 2005, there was this startup called Odeo, founded by Ev Williams. It was a podcasting platform, and things were looking pretty good. And then, bam. Apple announces that it's going to build podcasts directly into iTunes. In a single move, Odeo's entire business model was basically wiped out overnight.
So they're facing near certain doom. What do? They pivot hard. They completely abandoned the podcasting idea and decided to shift all their focus to this little side project they'd been tinkering with. A simple service for updating your status. And that little side project, well, that became the company we now know as Twitter.
So think about what we've covered. Embracing so-called bad ideas. Doing things that don't scale. Pivoting when you have to. All of these strategies, they're all in service of a final, much bigger idea. And this brings us to the fourth, and maybe the most powerful truth in the whole book. A truly great business is never just a business.
The book has this fantastic metaphor for it. It calls it building a Trojan horse. So your company, that's the horse. It's the vehicle. It looks like a business, it acts like a business, but hidden deep inside is your real purpose, your mission for creating some kind of positive change that you can sneak into the world disguised as a company.
And when you look for it, you see it everywhere. Howard Schultz didn't just want to sell coffee. He built Starbucks as a Trojan horse to create the kind of company his own father never got to work for, one that prioritized its employees. Kevin Systrom used Instagram's massive scale to try and build a kinder internet. Linda Rottenberg created Endeavor to spark entrepreneurship in places where it just didn't exist. In every case, the business was the horse, but their real mission, their passion, that was the army inside.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? A great company isn't just about what you build. It's about why you're building it. The product can change, the strategy can pivot, but that core mission, that army inside your Trojan horse, that's the one idea that can truly scale. That's what can really change the world. So it leaves us with one final crucial question to think about. What's inside your Trojan horse?